If you can hear me, clap 3 times. Hi, so we're in Tucson now. How about that, huh? So for those of you who are just joining us here, I am Alicia Tonsik. I'm the Executive Director of NET. Can you just sort of show us if you're just joining us, just so we have a sense of, awesome. You're coming into something that's going and has been fun so far, and the board members I'm gonna bring up here, Rebecca, Claudia, Leslie, are gonna give you the fastest, most amazing,
Oh no, just us. Just us. Todd was like, yes!
They're gonna give you a 2.5 minute recap, what you're joining in progress, yeah? And then we're gonna see awesome performance.
Thank you so much. Could you give another round of applause for Alicia? All of the beautiful, amazing organization and work. So in Tempe, we started off with an awesome pre-conference where we did poetic justice and we shared skills and we learned more about each other. Then we had some plenaries where we talked about the politics of place and we got to learn more about what it is that is happening in Tempe, and then we talked about what we were going to be doing in the future. Then the next day, we had another awesome plenary where we learned about dance in the desert, co-creating community across distance, which was just gorgeous. We experienced a beautiful conversation about succession. We got to find out about the Connector app, which is super cool technology. We're super excited about it. And then we did lots and lots and lots of skill sharing, where we learned more from each other and about each other. And then there were awesome performances where we shared arts and things. And then we did more stuff.
We did more this morning. We did more skill sharing. It was very stirring and lots of learning. And then we went straight into a kind of mind-blowing conversation that we got to witness between Liz Lerman and Michael Road and participate in, which is mixed reality and everything in between. And then we got on a bus and we took the bus
to the desert.
To the desert. And we got to learn about saguaro harvesting, and we got to taste sweet saguaro jelly, and we stood with cacti, and it was beautiful. And we sang on the bus, and we came here.
Yeah. So I am Rebecca. Masa, my pronouns are they and she. I'm a board member of NET, and I just want to recap the things that we're trying to be noticing as we're here together and how we want to be together in this space, right? So when we got here, we had a beautiful welcome and invitation into this space by Ms. Patty to the land, right? Who is of the Ottoman tribe, of specifically the Hopi? Yeah. Thank you. And I was like, did I forget? So one of the things that we want to be really intentional about is we are on settler colonial land, right? And so we want to acknowledge in all the places and spaces that we're in, who are the people of this land, and remember that they're not gone. We're about to find out in this performance, right? And so another thing that we want to be really clear about is we don't want to assume anybody's gender. So ask people how they want to be referred to in the third person. If you don't know, ask, or just call them by their name. Couple other things. Speak from personal experience. So one of the things that's been happening a lot is we're going and learning from each other. Oh my God, that work that you do in Arizona is so amazing. I want to take that back to my community. So be mindful about how we are utilizing the learning that we're picking up, right? How we are rooting it in ourselves and in our own experiences. And also, as we're doing that, to acknowledge the disproportionate impact on communities of color, on queer people, on trans people, on folks of different abilities, and all of the other things, right, that we're trying to hold as we make our art and do our art well. Consent. We've been having fun times practicing. I feel like today in the desert we were like, does this cactus want to hang out with me? Do I know? How do I figure that out? With people it's a little bit easier because most of the time we share the same language, but not always. So ask permission. And in that same vein, we want to try and create accessible spaces, right? And so if you have needs, please let us know your needs, but also ask people if they have needs. And for things like the video, or, because we're live streaming, hi, audience who's not here, we want to make sure that we're making open also learning spaces so that we can work on our mistakes. Cool?
Yay!
Awesome. Thanks. Enjoy the performance.
Last thing. So yes, remember to call each other in, call each other out, call each other up, and also hashtag net reroutes.
Oh, yes.
Be on the social medias. Enjoy the show.
Time is not a straight line. It has many dimensions. Some say it radiates out like rippling water when a stone breaks the surface, each ripple possessing infinite possibilities. But that assumes that the terrain of the past, present, and future exists on a Euclidean plane, the passage of time stretching out in 2 dimensions. That passage merely skating the water's surface like a long-legged insect. But what if time had depth, width, height, volume, a temporality you could cradle in the palm of your hands? I've heard rumors that time, like the universe itself, is finite, and yet its beginning nor its end can be measured because we do not have the faculties, nor the sensitivity, nor the sensibility as humans to accurately ascertain time's geography. We do not have the sensibility of our animal relations, of the rabbit or the eagle or the mountain lion, to comprehend our connection to the sky, the water, the land on which we live. We have gotten so far off track, we have lost our connection to the bigger picture. But I digress. First things first. Who dares throw the first stone?
Baitima! Baitima! Sotino pa tutto che ni. Baitima! Sotino pa tutto che ni. Baitima! Sotino pa tutto che ni. Our language is important. Let's not forget it.
Pai upi tuiat hinita tuat demi yang pa pampi asinin tak pa binei sa kumai pi tuat nanan mai tam hupin niya ka mama chiu itam kahaki yoyoy na niya ka itam kanayoy na niya ka but itam demi yang pamhapi hupin susuk mai sin mai itam halayan susuk hiti yang tayong kamu itam enang hapikyaf chi itam kumay pihalayan bui yang susuk himu piyut na anyo ka ak itamu wasya ak itanono ak itam nayas na bui itam hapikyaf chi bui itam pihalayan
We must change the course of history.
We have always been here. We are still here. We will always be here.
So welcome, everybody.
Welcome. This is Indigenous land. I'm Denise Uehara, and I'm Okinawan and Japanese American, 4th generation.
Hello everybody, my name is Ryan Pinto. I'm Hopi, Omaha, Dene, Northern Ute, and also Mexicano. Thank you for coming.
Hello, I'm Rachel Bowditch. I'm European American, German, French, English.
T. Loving, they, she, Black Cherokee.
I'm Adam Cooper Teran, Yaqui, Chicano, Russian Jew, them, and he.
So next we're going to show you a 7-minute short feature by PBS, local PBS, Arizona Public Media. This is a piece that was broadcast right before our premiere last spring in 2017 at La Piedita Cultural Center as part of the Borderlands Theater's season for that year. So enjoy.
It's always kind of amazing to me how you can walk into a space and 1 minute there is nothing and the next minute it's just filled with electricity.
For tonight, can you run it? Okay.
Getting ready, I have this little zone I always go into. Walking through, feeling it, putting on the makeup, and then going back out.
About 20 years ago, I penned a script called Shooting Columbus, but I set it aside. I didn't know what to do with it because as a non-Native person, I didn't want to be yet another non-Native person that was writing about Native Americans. 4 years ago, I approached Adam Cooper Teran and Rachel Bowditch, and then we invited in a collective of Indigenous and Indigenous artists to totally deconstruct the play.
It was an approach to reflect Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous culture through art. I like that it's experimental, and I like that it's immersive.
It's not a simple question, but it has one question. How would the world be different if settlers had never come? I hope that it prompts everyone to question history.
The play is structured as a performance where the audience is experiencing theater, movement, video projection over the body.
My tribes are Omaha, Hopi, Dene, Northern Ute. Most of my community members and certain elders that I've grown up with and that I've known, they went through a great deal of trauma going to boarding school. They were stripped from their indigenous culture, their language, and it's something that's always been swept under the rug.
Far down south into Mexico and up to Upper Phoenix and Tucson, of course.
As a group, we went to Navajo and Hopi land, interviewed community members. We also talked to and interviewed Yomi or Yaqui individuals and Tohono O'odham who are indigenous to this area, and learned a lot about how the wall has created basically an arbitrary line right through their nations.
We are not abandoning them. They are still our people. The border doesn't stop us from knowing who our people are.
I grew up pretty much, dancing in ceremonial powwows, which my family got me into as a young kid. I started off as a fancy dancer, and then I grew into a grass dancer. If you're an artist, you want to utilize where you come from.
I am Cherokee, in part, but have spent most of my life very disconnected from that.
At first, learning the sounds of the Tohono O'odham will be difficult, but you have the best teacher in the world.
One of the things that really resonates with me is the moment where the two children, they meet their grandmother in the past.
Grandma, this is too hard.
In order to remain, again, connected to ourselves, our culture, our people, language is so incredibly important, but sometimes, because it is hard, that really prevents us from taking that journey or from being willing to continue to engage.
There's one scene in the play where I play as a polluted body. You're dealing with an abuse or with an alcohol, whether it's drugs or whether it's traumatic past, and I deal with that. The past that I've been through was not so pretty. And the character that I morphed into this play, it hit home for me.
We must change history. We have always been here.
The past is only ever the past, and we've completely learned from it, and so therefore we have changed something. The past is always the present, as long as we continue to allow individuals to be marginalized, to be divided, to be pushed away, to be hidden in corners.
We try not to give answers to questions in this play. We try to actually ask more questions.
So I would tell these young people, listen to the language where you come from. Don't be looking to other people for approval.
I hope not that folks will try to somehow change the past. That's gone. Let it go. But I hope that they will walk away with a desire to create a hopeful, a better future, to change.
They came through a big flood and agreed into this new world. And when they emerged, they didn't know how to live with one another.
Especially with everything that's going on today, I want people to know that, it's our ceremonial gatherings are connected to Earth. It's not mythology.
And in time, people ask, how should we live here?
Indigenous culture and our ceremonial gatherings are important. Our language is important.
you all for being here tonight on this lovely late evening, this magical evening. And I want to thank especially our performers for this evening, who did an outstanding job. Basically, we created a new piece expressly for the NET conference. So, and it was an excerpt of a longer, full-length evening piece. I also want to thank NET for supporting us, believing in us really early on, and providing us with a travel grant that brought us together at Arizona State University, one of our early partners, and then with the exchange grant to continue our work, and also the MAP Fund. And for research and development, ASU, the HIDA, the Herberger Institute, and also the Arizona Commission on the Arts helped with the research for this project. So I'm going to just briefly talk a little bit about the project. Shooting Columbus is a multi-year interdisciplinary project based on the question, if indigenous scientists built a time machine and went back to 1492 to assassinate Columbus when he arrived, how would life today be different? And as you heard T speak about it in this short feature, if settlers never came, how would life be different? And it was a very long, wonderful process working together, and also at times very hard, which I think is also part of the process that we want to acknowledge, is that we're all very different as people, and that the real things that we experience in life, such as class difference, access, race, gender issues, those are all still part of what we do in our dynamic working together. And we kind of embrace that as part of our differences and also struggles, but also our ability to still work together. The project brought together us as lead artists, but also a large group that in our final premiere was 17 performers, including ourselves, ranging from 11 years old children to people as old as 60. And also interviews with Tohono O'odham, Hopi, Navajo, or Dene, Yaqui, or Yome people. And their stories and the stories that we also, and in collaborative working together, what we created definitely radically redid an original script. So it became a narrative based on indigenous and non-indigenous voices working together. The project had some field research which included going to the Navajo and Hopi land, in particular the Kayenta coal mines. These coal mines are in the northeastern part of the state of Arizona. And for those of you that don't know, because many don't know, the people that live in the Kayenta area experienced the Peabody coal mines coming in and ravaging the land. It affected the health of the people and also, of course, the land itself. And we worked with Fern Benelli, our community partner there, who gave us a tour of the now defunct land mine there. That coal is then going to a generating station, and that fuels the filtration and transport of water that we experience in Phoenix and Tucson. So whenever we turn on the tap here in Tucson, and whenever you turn on the tap when you're here, it is pulling on the ravaging of indigenous soil, basically. So we all experience that now, and I think that that's been a big part of our project. The people that live on Kayenta now still don't have running water. They still don't have electricity, and we saw families going to the defunct coal mine to get coal to heat their homes, and people coming in with barrels of water to allow elders to be able to bathe and to have some drinking water. The other thing that I thought was very profound in this was that Rachel suggested, as our director, to bring in the Native American boarding schools as like a structure for the entire performance installation. And so that has definitely been a big part of the journey in this project, and so we'll talk more to that. And now we're each going to take about 3 minutes to talk about our experience and why we entered into this project and into this work, and about what our impressions or takeaways from this project.
Hi, Well, this experience with this Shooting Columbus project was definitely grounding for me, especially just with my own culture, expressing myself through solidarity, resistance, and just a little bit of rebel art to it, I guess you could say. Yeah, it definitely hit, like in the interview in the documentary that was just shown right now. Yeah, it definitely hit home for me because it made me want me to engage more into a lot of my tribes that I'm not so familiar with, but got me more deeper into the oppression of what my ancestors or my elders went through, because I'm living in a different generation right now, but just with experience too, just within my family members and my elders and stories that have told me through boarding school systems, which has stripped a lot of their culture, their language, songs. So it's always stuck in, as a youth, it's always stuck in the back of my mind of like, gosh, like how it's just how profound how something like that can happen. Just to be taken away from your family, by officials and saying, you can't live here, or you can't be, taught by your parents. You have to go to a boarding school system, and you have to be taught, the colonization ways. And so yeah, I can go on a million things about this, but yeah, I think that's one thing that I really wanted to engage with was, just with the oppression and with the coal mining, and that's going on Native and Indigenous lands, especially. But mostly when this project came through too, is just like a lot of Native and Indigenous, resistance has risen up because of, most obvious one is, of course, is Standing Rock, which I know pretty much everybody's familiar with. But also there's a lot of things going on in our backyard too, like within, the Yaqui water rights or the coal mining and, in the Dene and the Hopi reservations, Hopi lands, pretty much. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to join this and be a part of it, express what I know, and just create a healing, kind of a healing art process in order to make people think. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Thank you. Welcome to Tucson. I guess there's so many angles to talk about this project, but I'll probably just focus on the tech and the collaborative process, working with everybody. I had already had a relationship working with Denise for many years, back since 2007, on other projects, some that NET had funded in the past, and had another working relationship with Rachel since like 2009. And when the idea came, when it was presented itself to do a piece through Denise's original script, there was a very strong urge to very much utilize stories that are Native and Indigenous, and then for myself it was kind of an application of digging deep and kind of getting into my own roots as well, something that I've always been kind of focused on, but this was like the perfect project to sort of apply that. Given my use with video and media, I thought technology would be an interesting medium to be able to express a lot of these ideas to, and given that the subject was kind of jumping around different periods of time, being able to use something like a projector and a sound mixing system where things could be mixed live made it more dynamic to work with. And a lot of our research too, with regard to looking at photos and interviewing people, interviewing our subjects, interviewing the hosts and community partners that we had with this, kind of built from the ground up the entire show. And it was through those stories, particularly the interviews that we were doing, that sort of threaded the narrative of what we were creating, which was always very mixed media and coming from a lot of different places, but being able to rely on that and use the tech as a tool, I thought was an interesting way. And I often have like a difficult relationship with that too, because performance is one thing, using technology can be a crutch. How do the two marry to create something that's heartfelt, sincere, and has heart to it? That doesn't look fake or more derivative of using something like a projector. But yeah, so it became very much like an exploration with the two, using the bodies, using the media in a way that the two could marry. And I thought it came out pretty well, personally. And and the experience too, I think it's just completely changed sort of my outlook too on how to use this kind of work in these kinds of ways to tell these kinds of stories. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say.
So a couple, 3 or 4 years ago, Adam came to me and said, hey, I have this project that we need a director for this project. Denise, we've been working together for several years, called Shooting Columbus. Are you interested? And I worked with you for 4 or 5 years, and I said, anything you're working on, I want to work with you. And so we actually got together for the first time with that Network of Ensemble Theaters travel grant to bring together Ryan and Cleve and Ali, who's an Indigenous activist, anarchist, and a bunch of other artists to get together. And we did a reading of the script. Oh, that's like a totally different experience. We did a reading of the script, and after the reading of the script, I listened to the script, and I heard what every single person in the room did. Clee's a musician, and Ryan is an Omaha brass dancer / b-boy, and I was just looking at the skill set in the room, and I said, this script is, I want, can we like shatter apart the script, take some of the ideas from the script, but let's do an original devised piece and break that apart. So for me, I mean, this project has been very, it's really changed my life in so many ways, because in the traditional theater world, the director is sort of the power in the room, and I like Liz Thorman's model of doing this, and I feel that I did not feel comfortable being the only European American in the room holding that position of power. And so right from the start, I was like, I don't want to be the director. Can I just be the, so and so we really, that's why we created the Fifth World Collective, because I really feel this was a collective process, and every single moment in the show wasn't me, the director. I provided a certain skill set, maybe putting some pieces together, but we all are completely invested in all parts of the show. So that was really a radical decentering of the power structures. And then I would say when we got the grant, I don't remember which grant it was, but the first sort of grant that said, okay, we can move forward with this project, we got an email from Clee that there was this Indigenous resistance event happening at Black Mesa. And I called Denise right away and said, we have to go to this thing because we need to learn, we need to hear what's going on. So we drove up 6 hours and camped for 3 days at Black Mesa at the spot where the resistance is going on. And there was about 90% Indigenous participation and 10% other. But we heard boots on the ground, what was happening, what with the food, with the mines, with the illness, with the alcoholism, all of this stuff, and we realized we just needed to spend more time there and hear the stories on the ground. But 2 things I just want to close with is 2 things that have struck me. It haunts me to this day every time I turn on the tap in my house, is Fern said that her grandmother, who's 104 years old, one of the elders in her community, said, I don't know if in her lifetime she'll ever be able to say, I can take a 3-minute hot shower. And we just take that for granted, till we can take this hot shower. And Tucson, Phoenix is, we turn on our water, electricity, and the power lines go right over all the communities, and they're not benefiting from that. And the last thing I would say with the boarding school frame, the boarding school system, for those who don't know what that was the most systematic erasure of Indigenous culture. This was happening in Canada, this was happening in Australia, where literally the US government would knock on your door and take your 5-year-old child. I have a young child. I'm imagining the U.S. government knocking on my door and saying, we're going to take her now, and when she comes back, her hair is going to be chopped short, she's not going to speak English anymore, and she's not going to have any of her culture, right? This was happening, and it's one of the biggest genocides, literally like cultural genocide, but also actual genocide with abuse and all of that, and so to recall that painful history, and the Heard Museum has a really powerful exhibit about that. So we all went as a group to study that, and so that became sort of a frame for understanding this systemic erasure.
So I actually, that's hot, came into the process, actually joined the collective much later. They had sort of already been doing their thing, and so, you know, why did I do this project? My mother raised me to be a lot of things. A fool was not one of them, right? And so having the opportunity to work with a number of these folks I've known for years in a multitude of ways. And so when Denise came to me and said, here's what we've done and here's what we want to do, and to have this opportunity that really centered on community, uplifted community stories, and to know that I was going to be engaged in this process with people whom I knew were not just going to say, well, that was our intention, and look at where we, you know, so like they were going to hold that the whole way through. And so that became, that just to me is so incredible and rare. Oftentimes in the project work that I'm doing, I think intention it counts for so much, but it can't be the only thing. So in working through this process, there are a couple of things that just sort of came back to me and kept coming back to me about the process itself, and about the storytelling that happened here. And so, you know, one of those things was the reminder, or, you know, perhaps that question of like, whose story is it? So just because I'm engaged in a creative process, just because I am, you know, creating things around it, at the end of the day, this story belongs to all of us and it belongs to none of us. Because there's an entire community, an entire, right, individuals who have lived this experience, whom all we're doing is uplifting. So this is not ours, it's all of ours, and it's everybody else's. And that has been incredible in this process for me. But with that, right, ensuring that that happens really is a labor. And I feel like I've, you know, been in some processes where people are like, this is what we're going to do, and then it's like, whoa, that's hard. So maybe we should not do that and do it like this. And so, you know, as Denise said at the beginning, like, I think this is an incredible group of humans that I am honored and gratitude and blessed to have worked with. But to think that it was all easy peasy all of the time, that's a big misconception. But because it was hard, right, and because we were all committed to what we were doing and the reasons why we were doing, everyone kept going, and because we kept going, we kept growing. And so now we're able to, like, right, take this back out into the world, filter that and fill that into all the other spaces that we're in and the work that we do. And yeah, so that's been, you know, one of the major things that has resonated, uplifted me, and allowed me to continue to uplift as I move through this community.
We also want to thank Mark and Melta from Borderlands Theater for all their work as producers. Although we came in with funding to develop the work, they took a big risk on us, and that we were able to work with them to have a box office arrangement where all Indigenous people of the Americas could come for free to the shows. And it really, that plus the fact that we had 70 people in the cast of a very diverse range of the community, it really made a difference in who came to see that show. We had 8 to 9 shows sold out, completely full, and we were very impacted by it. My takeaway from it was that on the last night of the show, a gentleman who was one of the 3 Tohono Adam who were homeless, who we realized were living where we were rehearsing at La Pilita Cultural Center, he came up, and in the middle of the show, he was standing on the stage with us all of a sudden, and I looked and I go, oh, who's this? A new performer. And then he started speaking to the audience in his language. And later, a rough translation that was given to me was that he was saying, I am Tono Adam, this is about me and my people. So I was so moved, and then I sat down, so it was interesting because the audience thought it was part of the piece. But in a way, it was the piece, you know? And I think we had many lofty ideas, which are wonderful artistic keys we wanted to hit, notes we wanted to hit, but I also learned how much the community that we were trying to create the piece by and for became part of the production and felt moved to be part of it, and I felt that that was really, truly art. So, do you want to speak a little bit about your experience with Patrick?
Yeah, so one story that we actually highlighted in the show, there was a beginning. We started off as a beginning as a disruptor, or just gonna interrupt the audience and kind of, just get put under disguise, just to do a little shock. But the story that we kind of worked with in the beginning of it, we did a research in in Black Mesa. And was it Fern it was Fern. Yeah, it was Fern that was actually showing us around the old mining site, and it was on one of her lands. And we decided to go take a tour, see what the mining situation looked like, and it was all pretty much just done. It's it's just a site that nobody uses anymore. So we all decided to have lunch, just right by the site, and I think there was probably about maybe 4 or 5 of us, and we see this truck, and we're like in the middle of pretty much nowhere, like in the deep boonies, and this truck comes raging down kind of a dirt road, and with its what do you call it, the fender, the front? Yeah, the front fender hanging off. And we're like, oh no. And it just like comes up towards us, like the truck just comes up towards us while we're all like sitting down having lunch. And this guy comes out of the truck and he asks like what we're doing here. And so we start to tell him, this is who we are, this is what we're doing some research. And ends up that Fern knows this guy, and his name is Patrick. And apparently they're, I believe they're related by marriage. So we start telling him, what we're doing here, and as far as the research and the project, and why we want to come see the mining site. And at that point, we kind of pretty much know that, all right, Patrick is intoxicated and he's driving, and he wants to tell a story to us. So he starts to pretty much go into the story of the mining site of his grandfather that used to work there. It was his grandfather, right? Yeah. His grandfather used to work at the mining site, which is pretty much just like right behind us. And he tells us that, one of the tractors killed him, killed his grandfather just in plain sight, and he was there to witness it. And the mining site, whoever worked there, the company, whatever, never gave acknowledgement. Never said they were sorry, and that was the one thing that stuck in my mind. And I wanted to. So I got when he was telling the story, I gradually got my camera and I wanted to record it, because this is something that happens. This is something that's something that's untold. So we ended up recording it, and one thing that he kept saying was, they never said they were sorry. And I think that was just kind of one thing that stuck in all of our heads, and that kind of got us emotionally hit us hard. This is the reason why he is right now. He's intoxicated. He's probably a polluted body with all the trauma that he went through of seeing his grandfather get hit or run over by one of the tractors. So that hit home hard. So we definitely wanted to put that in the show, and I was the person that morphed into this person, into the intoxicated body. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this character, for Patrick and for people that have stories like this, And yeah, so that was, yeah, so this is for Patrick too. Yeah.
We're trying to stay true to time. 2 minutes. Are there any questions?
In 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
And a couple more.
Yes.
This is for the projectionist, if I may call you that.
Sure.
I am curious to know, I'm noticing a lot of glitch aesthetics being used these days. And so I'm curious as to your thought process between the audio glitches and some of the music tracks and also some of the glitches being used in the projection.
Yeah, so the idea for tonight, like the way that the image glitches at the beginning, it's sort of playing with the idea of like breaking the fourth wall. It's like we're witnessing a scene, but then kind of getting zonked out of it. For me, glitch aesthetics are a really interesting way, I think, to kind of reveal the magical sides or properties of technology, because it kind of throws things out at you that you weren't expecting. And speaking more to like the music and some of the soundscapes, some of that was sourced from certain music that I listened to, particularly like some industrial groups like Coil or it's like one of the primary ones, but majority of the music that you're hearing was also created like in these very improvised sessions between myself and Clee Benali from Blackfire and the activist that we mentioned earlier. So those were like made using a lot of contact mics, putting them on like you hear this ripping sound during the boarding school scene, and that's actually like from a book that we contact mic'd and then ripped it. And so there was a lot of like texture that we wanted to play with, and my thing was sort of like using contact mics in these recording sessions and using certain objects as like materials that could be elemental if you're using wood or playing around with paper or playing around with there was another instrument that I made out of like a bow from like a bow and arrow that I had acquired, and mic that and then put that through a bunch of different effects. But I think all in all, like speaking back to what the glitch is and how that kind of incorporates with this, I think it's just an interesting relationship in creating like that tension between like what's real, what's not, and not making it so clean either. I'm not one to present things very, like I like things that come out rough and that you don't really know what you're gonna get. But then some of it, the flip to that is like intentionally creating a glitch, which is like making something look like it's broken or breaking the thing, but doing it through a sleight of hand sort of way. I think it's a really great tool in tactic with any kind of performance that you're doing, is like using that kind of sleight of hand as well. Okay, I think we're at time, so there's no more questions.
Are there any other questions? So we want to thank you all, and you're free to come up and talk to any of us afterwards and ask us more questions. You guys good? You guys good?
Was there one more question?
Okay.
We're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome. That was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for this beautiful work. My name is Giselle Sanat Rodriguez. I was born in Mexico. My ancestors are from the Yaqui people from Sonora, from the Sonoran Desert. I live in Pittsburgh. We arrived today, and Ben Barson, we're partners, and we have produced this work. It's called the Migrant Liberation Women's Suite. And we will talk about this a little more. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Neshma is from New York, Neshma Nefertiti. She's a wonderful hip-hop artist, and I really appreciate you doing the trip, and making the effort to come and talk about our work together. And Ruth Margraf, she's coming from Chicago, and she wrote the libretto for the whole thing. And she put all the pieces together of this puzzle. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want, and we also have Eliana Slotnick, who is a local jazz artist and migrant justice organizer who's performing with us this evening. I mean, now that work was more in Buffalo, but it's still part of your path. And we were just, it's kind of incredible hearing the work of the Fifth World Collective, because the work that we're going to show you excerpts of this evening followed an eerily similar trajectory. We coordinated interviews with activists in the Yaqui tribe, especially folks who are fighting for their water sovereignty and against new fracking initiatives. This is the Yaquis based in Sonora, Mexico. We also interviewed folks in Kurdistan and Syria who are part of an eco-socialist women-led movement, who are fighting capitalism, patriarchy, and climate change, and ISIS simultaneously. Specifically, we interviewed a revolutionary economist from there, Azize Aslan, and we also interviewed a former Black Panther who's currently living in Tanzania, named Charlotte O'Neill. And the idea was to, Mama C's, some of you may know her, an incredible musician and activist, and just so full of love and resistance. And the concept was to connect folks, especially in the case of Syria and Mexico, folks who are on the front lines of climate change and who are providing coherent alternatives to the destruction of the planet. So I'm sure we're all familiar with the newest IPCC report and just how little time we have left and how much capitalism and white supremacy and colonialism have really destroyed the basis of life in this world. And we wanted to highlight the indigenous voices and who are responsible for 80% of the world's remaining biodiversity, who are really on the front lines of these processes in a global sense. So in the Americas, but also in the Middle East, also in Africa. So anyway, their voices were mediated brilliantly by Ruth. And actually there's a libretto which we printed out for y'all, which Shireen's gonna pass out to you at some point, maybe randomly right now. We have more in the front too, but and the other thing is that these interviews that we did, we actually have superimposed them into these posters, which are kind of awkwardly not visible right now. But if you'd like to check them out later, so it was a very dialectical process, working with these folks, seeing if they, if this was kind of their vision of what it sounded like. And I'm just going to pass the mic down to Najma just for some thoughts.
Yeah, so the process, the process was intense. Like, it wasn't easy for us either. Yeah, by the way, that's like a hard thing to really follow. I'm still processing what I just seen, which really spoke to me. My mom was an indigenous woman who just passed away not too long ago. So yeah, I feel always like really disconnected from that, and even more so now. But yeah, I mean, this process like brought us closer to these three women, these warrior sisters who are real people, and let us tell their stories, like, you know, with their permission and their words. And you know, this piece that you're gonna see is just a part of what we did. Like, we don't have everybody here today, but the symbolism of what it is like capitalism is destroying the world, and you know, languages, tribes, water, and people, and you know, it was like, it was difficult, like personally, like the role that I play is like a dying flower and stuff, like in a barren field and everything, and like I began to like really feel that, and like it like really got to me, you know, like and working with everybody, that these incredible artists, and like using martial arts and you know, like showing in symbolism the different characters, which was like nature, like a mulberry tree, or like, you know, mushrooms and different things that were alive. Like, it was like this ethereal world that we were showing that was like being destroyed. So for me, it was like really intense. I know it was intense for all of us, and it really, like, we all learned a lot too, even in like the Q&A afterwards and everything. Like, some people didn't really even understand totally like what we were doing at first until we did that, and everybody learned so much and really came together to like just to create this story, this real story, like this real way that life is being destroyed. So it just makes you think, and it makes you think about like what you're doing as a human, and like maybe what you can do, and it just makes everyone question themselves, like even me and everybody sitting here now, you know. So it's like really internal, and that's kind of the way that I processed it. So I guess that's what I can say about it right now.
I started working with Ben when Fred Ho was still alive. He passed away in 2014, and I wrote a lot of work with him, and I really feel that this piece passes on some of his legacy, and I think that that's really important to me. And one of the things that I'm excited about with this piece is that I've written a lot of plays and operas and musicals and things like that, and this is the first piece I've written where nobody is really human. Our characters are deer and stoneflower and sword, and I think that for me, I think a lot of theater privileges the human over nature, and I think we're just too big. You know, we have to sort of, as Giselle said so beautifully, and I think it became really one of the messages that speaks to me so much through this piece. She was talking about grammar and trying to translate some grammar that is from her tribe in Yoeme, right? And the sentence would normally be in English or in a lot of grammar that I'm familiar with. I throw the stone, or I climb the tree. And she was saying that it is more the stone and I throw, or the tree and I climb. And that's where I'm at with this piece and in my life. I'm trying to not be so human over the verbs and the actions that I'm doing, to think about I'm part of the stone, and I'm part of the trees, and I'm part of the water. And if we start thinking more that way, we lose a lot of the problems that we have between people, and also between trying to conquer things in nature and even ourselves. So that's one of the things that I really find a lot of hope in, and I hope that just that little shift in grammar and perspective can help me and help all of us be able to survive.
I'm new to the process. I'm getting to know the process, and I just want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to experience this tonight with you, and thank you all for coming.
So right now we're going to do an excerpt of one of the pieces. So this was performed with a 17-piece band and 5 singers and martial arts dance component. We really wanted to bring that all here, but it just wasn't really possible. So if it's okay with you, we're going to do a sort of mixed performance where we have live singing and live instruments mixed with a video of that performance that we did recently. So it is modular, but it's also sort of a dialogue between what was done and what is being now done now. Is that okay with you all? I know we're crossing some barriers. Okay, cool. So this first piece is going to feature Eliana and Giselle, and it's called the Mulberry Tree. And in this piece, Mulberry Tree, which is the character that Mama C was based on, is fighting the sword, which is the embodiment of capitalism as represented by the different peoples that we've interviewed and kind of constructed it into a character. His time is linear, his ontology is of domination. So you'll see there are times when it makes more sense to focus on the performance in front of you, and there's times when it makes more sense to see the brilliant choreography by Peggy Choi and the actors who are performing this piece. So thank you very much for letting us do it this way.
So a sword pushes a tree into Kansas and out of Kansas and all the way to Tanzania, striking at her the whole way like a former Black Panther. And where do you put your defiance? Swashbuckling with the weaponry? Or do you open up your branches and your roots, even in a strange land? Do you hack down whoever takes what you were taking, even if it's hand to mouth, and you have it all, and all, and all? Or are you more like a mulberry tree, letting the hummingbirds and orchid mantis come to your branches to make a small home inside your home?
soldier networks, mess up your windmills and a Welsh fly out, bully and bait you, wildfire, drought, storm surge, cold to violence, forced march progress, linear reality and God we trust can never get voluptuous. Your mantis devilry will fold in on itself like a bug-bitten weed choke, suck up wannabe. Yeah, you'll do anything for me. You know it.
I see that sword bring down the great trees to their knees, hacking limb from limb. Hacking limb from limb, the rebels who wander, torn as under, thrown into the sea, head down, bailing out the tears. To sink or swim in the leaf litter, fear dumb and turkey tail frontier, that sword came down and down, hacking into my birds.
For this next selection, this is going to feature the character the Stoneflower, and this is based on the. I'm so sorry, the song didn't end. Actually, it did. It's just looping. So I'll use this as dramatic entrance music. So this next selection is going to be based off of the interview with Aziz Aslan, and it actually starts with a long percussion ensemble feature that's meant to. I think you'll get the context of it. And it's going to feature Nejma Nefertiti.
death. Forced out to the streets soon to take their last breath. Push back and forth, push to nowhere. Everybody's hating, cruel without a care. Waste of war comes down like the night. What will break you first, you or what you fight? What will break you first, you or what you fight? When you start to break, try to find a tree, a place with water, dull the cruelty. Sit with a comrade, some chocolate and a cat, or a little snail in a village with a shell hat. Is part of labor. That fear was leading you, pulling you away from me. You gotta get closer. You know this snail when you see it in the spring. You can bend and grow, return to earth year after year. But when spring comes, we're gonna flourish. Spring's gonna come and we'll know the revolution is here. You know this. You already know this. Fear made you forget it. You forgot you were shown this. You forgot your nature. Stone flower, split in two. But crack the blade.
You know a part of me will never accept those who enslave me, and I will give my whole life for the search.
The last piece will be featuring the four-mirrored butterfly, and it's in the section where the split stone and the damaged tree make their way to the river to regrow, only to find the waterways poisoned by the sword. They call to the water for guidance, and the water rises up reflected in a four-mirrored butterfly. The butterfly can hear the caracols of the spiral. She hears you too. Whatever you think of her now, she sings to you in ancient grammar that does not bend to the sword. She sings with the voice of the river and the deer. She sings the wisdom of the water and the people. Listen, listen. She sings, I am facing extinction. I am a four-mirrored butterfly. Can you face the mirrors of my wings? Food and water. I only taste your poison. It hurts to breathe. Your footprints are everywhere. Your poisons, all the butterflies are gone. Don't you know the spiritual world is here? You don't have to look somewhere else. Your ancestors are here still, with the insects, birds, and fish. You are transforming too. Where life meets death, we'll meet again. If you die before me, I will face your mirrors with the song of the mirror butterfly. If I die before you, remember my wings, my song.
Se poi vuoi che ci intome cuccio me la siguió.
What you lost. Know you know this. We will break before we ever bend again. Liberate yourself like a spiral. Our ancestors are here. We remember our nature and let go of all our fears. Break before we ever bend again.
It's really different to perform without the real instruments behind, so we appreciate your patience, but I think you could see the concept behind it, and it was truly challenging, but a really beautiful experience for all of us, I think, for all of us involved. And I just want to share a little bit of a little message. You know, it's an important message for me before we leave the stage. There are 250 species that die every day. Species that we're not gonna see ever again. Of birds, of fish, of animals, of insects that are disappearing because of the way we produce and consume things. These instruments I'm wearing on my feet are made out of cocoon butterflies. And the image that you see in the program is a 4-meter butterfly. And this Kautemasai in the Yaqui language, it's really important in their culture, and it's about to be extinct because of the pesticides that are being utilized in the agricultural business in the region of Sonora. And so for the Yaqui people, it's really important that people understand that the way we're producing our food, it's really devastating for the ecosystems, and we are all gonna become extinct if we don't fix this, if we don't do something to heal the land as opposed to destroying everything. This is their message, and I want you to keep it in your hearts. Fight for water, because it's the most essential element. Without it, we cannot exist. So, thank you. Thank you all.
So that's our program. I don't know if there's a moderator or anything else. Unless you're up for the whole NAT Reroutes Conference. This has been such a moving journey into a decolonized theater practice and rethinking the border and routes, and also the Fifth World Indigenous Collective, thank you so much for sharing your work with us, and it's been an honor to be here. Thanks again for having us.
Okay, can we get lights back up? Is that easy here? Anyone? Shireen, someone? Thank you. Hey, there we go. Awesome. So thank you to both of our groups tonight, Fifth World Collective and Afro Yuki Music Collective. Thanks to both of them. I'm just going to do a few quick announcements of things we need to recognize from today and know for tomorrow morning. I know it's been a long day. I really want to give a special thank you and shout out to the NET staff for transitioning us from one place to another today. Particularly, Shireen came ahead as sort of advanced team of one plus very kind spouse to get everything. Yes, agreed. But to get us all set up, to get this performance tonight happening, to get everything happening over at the reception for us, all of that. So please, thank you, Shireen. So for those of you who are not yet ready to have your evening end, there is a late night dance party happening, thrown by some folks in the community at a really fantastic space. Hotel Congress on their plaza has a party that will go until 2 in the morning. So if that's something that speaks to you in this moment, enjoy. If it doesn't, enjoy your bed and some sleep. Tomorrow morning, if you're staying at the Ramada, they have a free breakfast. It's like a hot buffet breakfast, not just like stale toast. It goes 6:30 to 9:30. And then we start together in the morning at 10 a.m., not here. It's all in your program. Take a look there. We're at the Historic Y at the Scoundrel and Scamp Theater. You can get there on the streetcar, about 15 minutes. It's about 1.5 miles from the hotel. Any questions? Awesome. Thanks for a full day, following another full day, and hopefully another day tomorrow that will be full and enriching. So have a good night.